The Sunday roast sat untouched on my plate. Around the table champagne flutes caught the light. My sister Claire stood at the head, phone in hand, showing photos of the auction catalog. Property 47B. My warehouse. The building I'd bought 8 years ago with money saved from working double shifts at the logistics firm. Bidding was intense, Claire said, scrolling through images. Started at $2.1 million. 3 developers fighting for it. The winning bidder runs that huge construction company downtown. Mom refilled everyone's glasses. Dad's face glowed with pride. Claire's always had a head for business, he said. Spotted the opportunity, executed perfectly. That warehouse was just sitting empty anyway. I set down my fork carefully. The warehouse wasn't empty. Claire waved dismissively. A few old pallets in your storage boxes? Please. The property value was being wasted. I'm splitting the proceeds, $850,000 to Mom and Dad for their mortgage, $600,000 to myself for the consultancy I'm launching, and you'll get whatever's left after auction fees and taxes. How generous, I said quietly. You should be thanking me, Claire continued. You've been sitting on prime commercial real estate while working your boring logistics job. I maximized the asset. The auction house took their cut, but we cleared $3.4 million. Check clears Tuesday. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I stood, walking to the kitchen. Excuse me. James. The voice was professional, tense. This is Robert Morrison from Morrison Premier Auctions. My son Kevin works in your office. He's one of your logistics coordinators. I leaned against the counter. Kevin Morrison. Good employee. What's this about? Kevin just called me from your company's emergency contact list. He's extremely concerned. I conducted an estate auction this afternoon for a warehouse property, 47B on Industrial Boulevard. The consignment documents listed your sister Claire as the executor of your estate. The kitchen tilted slightly. Why estate? The paperwork indicated you'd passed away last month. Heart attack. I'm looking at the death certificate now. It appeared legitimate. But Kevin says you're very much alive and we're working Friday. I closed my eyes. The sale. I've voided it immediately. The winning bidder's payment hasn't processed yet. I've also contacted the fraud division of the county prosecutor's office and flagged every document in the file. Mr. Chen, I need to ask, did you authorize this auction in any capacity? No. I'm sending you copies of everything right now. The forged death certificate, the power of attorney documents, the property transfer paperwork. All of it has your sister's signature as executor. Kevin gave me your email. My phone chimed. 3 PDFs arrived. I opened the death certificate first. My name. My birth date. Cause of death. Cardiac arrest. Date. October 15th. Attending physician. Dr. Sarah Whitmore. County seal embossed at the bottom. This is sophisticated, Morrison said. The documents fooled our authentication process. But I've been in this business 30 years. I've seen fraud before. This isn't amateur hour. What happens now? The sale is void. The buyer's deposit will be returned. The prosecutor's fraud division will begin their investigation. They'll likely be contacting you tomorrow. And Mr. Chin? This isn't civil fraud. Forging a death certificate is a felony. So is fraudulent conveyance of property. Your sister is facing serious criminal charges. I returned to the dining room. Claire was showing Mom paint swatches on her phone. The consultancy office will be downtown, she said. Thinking charcoal walls, modern minimalist. Claire, I said. We need to talk. She didn't look up. Can it wait? We're celebrating. The auction's been voided. Her hand froze. Dad's glass stopped halfway to his mouth. The room crystallized into silence. What? Claire's voice was sharp. Robert Morrison called. The auctioneer. His son Kevin works in my office. Kevin mentioned it was strange that his boss was auctioning my property, considering I'd been at work all week. The color drained from Claire's face. That's a clerical error. The paperwork says I died last month of a heart attack. I pulled up the PDF on my phone. October 15th. Cardiac arrest. You filed yourself as executor of my estate. Mom's champagne flute hit the tablecloth. Liquid spread across the white linen like a stain taking form. Dad stood slowly. Claire. It's not what it looks like, Claire said quickly. The warehouse was just sitting there. You weren't using it. I was going to surprise you with your share. My share of my own property? Kept my voice level. After you declared me dead and forged documents to steal it? Steal is a strong word. What word would you use? I met her eyes. You created a fake death certificate. You filed false executor paperwork. You consigned my property to auction under fraudulent pretenses. The prosecutor's fraud division is investigating. Morrison said these are felonies. The silence stretched. Then Dad spoke, his voice hollow. Claire. Tell me you didn't. It was supposed to be simple, Claire whispered. The warehouse value was wasting. James would never sell it himself. You know how he is, always holding on to things. I thought if I just handled it quickly, the money would make everyone happy. We'd all benefit. So you declared me dead. The absurdity crystallized as I said it out loud. You killed me on paper to steal my property. I was going to give you money. From my own asset. I pulled up Morrison's email. The death certificate alone is a second-degree felony. That's 5 to 7 years. Fraudulent conveyance adds another 3 to 5. Then there's identity fraud, falsifying government documents, attempted theft over $500,000. Mom made a small sound. How long? Morrison estimated 15 to 20 years if the prosecutor pursues maximum charges. Claire sank into her chair. I need a lawyer. You need several. I forwarded Morrison's email to my own attorney. You'll also need to explain how you got a death certificate notarized. That means someone else was involved. A notary who knowingly falsified a government document. They'll face charges too. Dad's face had gone gray. The mortgage money. We were going to pay off the house. With stolen money from a fraudulent auction, I said. You might want to talk to a lawyer too. Receiving proceeds from criminal fraud. The prosecutor will investigate whether you knew. We didn't know. Mom's voice cracked. Claire said she'd worked it out with you. That you'd agreed to sell but wanted her to handle the details because you were too busy. I looked at Claire. Is that what you told them? She stared at the table. The ghost ledger had been compiling for years, though I'd never named it that. Every family dinner where Claire's marketing job was celebrated while my logistics work was dismissed as moving boxes. Every holiday where her boyfriend got interrogated with interest while my dates were met with polite indifference. Every investment discussion where Dad asked Claire's opinion and ignored mine. The warehouse purchase 8 years ago. I tried to tell Dad about it over Sunday dinner. He'd been on his phone, texting Claire about her new apartment lease. I'd bought the property at auction myself, a distressed commercial real estate sale. Borrowed $400,000, put down everything I'd saved. The building had good bones, solid location. Worth $1.2 million within 3 years. Worth $3.4 million now apparently. I'd never mentioned it again after that dinner. It became my fortress, my proof of competence I didn't have to justify. I'd renovated it slowly. New roof, updated electrical, modern loading docks. Used it partly for storage, partly rented it to a small manufacturer. The rental income paid the mortgage and then some. It was mine, built without family input or approval. Now Claire had tried to take it by declaring me dead. Here's what happens now, I said. I'm cooperating fully with the prosecutor's investigation. I'll provide any documents they need. Morrison already flagged the forged death certificate, which means they'll trace who helped you create it. That person will face charges. They'll likely turn on you to reduce their sentence. Claire's hands were shaking. The auction house will file their own complaint. You defrauded them too. They authenticated documents in good faith and now face reputational damage. They'll pursue civil damages on top of the criminal charges. James, please, Claire started. The winning bidder will also likely sue. They spent time and resources preparing for a purchase that was void from the start. Legal fees, due diligence costs, opportunity costs. They'll want compensation. Dad cleared his throat. What do you want? What do I want? I looked around the table. At the champagne glasses, the celebration, the family that had been spending my money in their minds for weeks. I want my warehouse back. I want the prosecutor to pursue charges. And I want everyone in this room to understand something. I pulled up the property records on my phone. I bought that warehouse in 2016. I renovated it over 3 years. I manage a tenant who manufactures custom furniture. He employs 11 people. The property generates $18,000 monthly in rental income. It's worth $3.4 million because I invested in it, managed it, grew its value. I showed them the screen. And none of you knew it existed because none of you ever asked what I did with my money. You assumed I was barely getting by working a boring logistics job. You never wondered how I took those trips to Japan and Norway. You never asked about the new car I paid cash for. You saw what you wanted to see, someone to feel superior to. Mom's eyes were wet. We love you. You love the version of me that makes Claire look successful by comparison. The words came out steady, factual. The version that works a blue-collar job while Claire does real business. But I've been building an asset portfolio for 8 years. The warehouse is just the most visible piece. Claire's face crumpled. I'm sorry. You're sorry you got caught. If Kevin Morrison didn't work in my office, you'd have $3.4 million and I'd be fighting to prove I'm alive. My phone buzzed. My attorney. I answered, walking back to the kitchen. James, I've reviewed the documents you forwarded. This is serious. I'm recommending you file a police report immediately, separate from the prosecutor's investigation. We also need to check all your financial accounts, property records, and identity documents. If she forged a death certificate, she may have attempted other fraud. I'll come by tomorrow. I'm also recommending a restraining order. Someone willing to declare you dead to steal property is not safe to have in your life. I hung up. When I returned to the dining room, everyone was crying. Dad had his head in his hands. Mom was holding Claire, who sobbed into her shoulder. The celebration had become a wake. I'm leaving, I said. My attorney is filing a restraining order tomorrow. Claire, you're not to contact me directly. All communication goes through lawyers. James, she's your sister. Mom started. She declared me dead. I picked up my jacket. She forged a death certificate. She tried to steal my property and split the proceeds. The judge who signs my restraining order will read those same documents. They'll understand. I walked to the door. Behind me, Claire's voice, thick with tears. I thought you'd forgive me. I turned back. Forgiveness requires remorse. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry you have to face consequences. The drive home took 20 minutes. The warehouse sat on Industrial Boulevard, exactly where I'd left it. Lights on in the tenants section. They were working late on a custom order. The loading dock I'd renovated. The roof I'd replaced. The foundation I'd reinforced. Built without permission, grown without approval, nearly stolen by someone who thought I was too insignificant to notice. The prosecutor's investigation moved quickly. Within a week, they'd traced the notary who'd falsified the death certificate. A woman Claire had met through a business networking group. The notary was facing her own charges and immediately cooperated, providing emails and text messages showing Claire had paid her $5,000 to create the document. The county medical examiner's office filed additional charges for forging the signature of Dr. Whitmore, who'd never heard of me and certainly hadn't declared me dead. Claire's attempted fraud had involved at least 8 separate felonies. Morrison's auction house filed a civil suit for reputational damages. The winning bidder sued for $180,000 in wasted due diligence costs. Claire's consultancy, which hadn't launched yet, evaporated before it began. No bank would work with someone facing fraud charges. Mom called twice. I didn't answer. Dad sent an email asking if we could work this out as a family. I forwarded it to my attorney, who sent a formal response reiterating the restraining order. The hardest part was explaining it at work. Kevin Morrison came to my office 3 days after the dinner, looking uncomfortable. I'm sorry if I caused problems. I just thought, when my dad said your name, I knew you were alive. You saved me from fraud, I told him. Thank you. Your sister really tried to. He stopped. That's messed up. Yeah. I pulled up the warehouse security footage. Want to see something? The cameras I'd installed showed Claire visiting the property twice in the month before the auction. She'd brought a professional photographer to shoot the interior. She'd measured the loading docks. She'd walked the perimeter taking notes. She'd planned it carefully. Methodically. With full knowledge that I was alive and would lose everything. 6 months later, Claire took a plea agreement. 8 years, eligible for parole in 5. The notary got 3 years. The civil suits settled for amounts that bankrupted Claire's savings and required her to sell her condo. Mom and Dad sold their house anyway. The mortgage plus the legal fees drained their retirement. They moved to a smaller place in a cheaper neighborhood. Mom's last email said they were adjusting, but that holidays felt empty. I renovated my warehouse's second floor into a small office space. Hired 2 more staff for the logistics firm. The tenant expanded production, adding 5 more employees to their payroll. On a cold evening in March, I stood in the warehouse's loading dock, watching the tenant's team package custom furniture for shipment. The space hummed with productivity. The building I'd bought improved, protected. The gambler's fallacy is believing that past losses make future wins more likely. I'd fed the slot machine of family for 32 years, convinced the jackpot of being valued was statistically inevitable. But slot machines don't pay out because you've invested, they pay randomly, indifferently, or not at all. Claire didn't see me as a person. She saw me as a resource, first to feel superior to, then to harvest. The moment my warehouse had value, I became an obstacle. Death was simply the most efficient way to remove obstacles. The building is quiet now in the way that productive spaces are quiet. The sound of work being done, of value being created, of foundations holding strong. I didn't destroy Claire. I stopped protecting her from the consequences of declaring me dead. The legal system operated exactly as designed. Fraud was prosecuted, restitution was required, justice documented in court records. I still drive past my parents' old house sometimes. Smaller family lives there now, kids playing in the yard. I feel nothing looking at it. No grief, no anger, no nostalgia. Just the recognition that I've outgrown the space where I was always too small. The warehouse stands on Industrial Boulevard, my name on the deed, my foundation underneath. They wanted to take it by erasing me. Instead, they proved I was substantial enough to fight for. The building is mine. The life is mine. And the story of my death was vastly exaggerated.